Hello everybody, this is Saber Wolf, another profession video for today. Today I'll be going over the Ritualist. Now, when I first thought about doing this video, I was like, okay, Ritualist does healing and spirits, that's it. Well, after further review, and I looked at other my past builds and stuff like that, the Ritualist can do like 5 or 6 or 7 different things in this game. So they are a master of jack of all trades, but a master of some. Before I actually go into the attributes to explain some of that reasoning further, I do want to go over 3 points that the Ritualist brought to the game when factions actually came out. These are the weapon spells, spirits to a different degree than what the Rangers had, and what's called ashes. Now, first of all, let's go over the weapon spells. Now, weapon spells are very similar to an enchantment, except for the fact that they cannot be removed. They do buff your target with a special ability skill, but normally these don't last quite as long as the enchantments do, and there are also some limitations where they do not stack like enchantments do. Enchantments you can cast like on top of each other. A weapon spell you can only have one on you at one time. And the second of all is spirits. Now, like I said before, Rangers did bring spirits into the game with some of the nature rituals. However, with the Ritualist, they actually took that a step further and actually had the spirits interact with your targets and allies, where they can actually heal your allies and actually do direct damage to your targets. So they actually increase the ability of the use of spirits. And last but not least, we have Ashes. Now, Ashes is an item spell which the Ritualists will be able to hold in their hands. It does not decrease their movement speed, much like holding a flag or repair kit does. But what it does do, it buffs the Ritualist, and when you drop it, it has different effects where it damages foes in the area or actually heals your party members within the area. So those are the 3 things that the Ritualist added in the game. Again, that was weapon spells, more use for spirits, and ashes. So now we can actually go into the attributes for a Ritualist. The 4 attributes for a Ritualist is Restoration Magic, Channeling Magic, Communing, and Spawning Power. First off, let's go over Restoration Magic. Now, Restoration Magic is basically just like a healing monk. They do have the direct heals, they have the weapon spells, again, kind of like an enchantment, where it can buff your target to help heal that further. And some of those weapon spells can actually steal health from the target foe attacking that ally that has the weapon spell on them. So that's kind of cool. And there are also spirits that can actually heal individual allies or all allies at the same time while it's in play. There is some condition removal for a Ritualist, however, this is very conditional, so it's not very practical. And also, Ritualists do not have hex removal, so that's actually a very big negative for Ritualists in this game. So when you see healing Ritualists, sometimes you see Mesmer or Monk secondaries to negate for adding hex removal to their bar. The second attribute is Channeling Magic. Now, Channeling Magic is the offensive skill sets for Ritualist. This has lightning damage, which is very similar to an Air Elementalist lightning damage. However, it doesn't really have the armor penetration like I mentioned in my last Elementalist Profession video, but it does have the lightning damage in that attribute. There's a lot of offensive spirits where spirits actually go out and attack your targets, and also there are some damaging and life-stealing weapon spells in this attribute, kind of like Splinter Weapon, which is a big AoE damage to the targets and the targets around it. The third attribute for Ritualist is Communing. Now, Communing is really a mixed bag of buffs and hindrances. There really isn't like major damage skills or major heal skills, but there is some prodding kind of skills in this attribute, like Union. There is, I guess, in this attribute is very spirit driven, and there is some spells, some weapon spells, but overall it's really a spirit driven mix of bag of tricks kind of attribute. The fourth attribute and last attribute is Spawning Power. This is the primary attribute for the Ritualist. Now it does two major things for this attribute. One of which is that it adds 4% more health to the creatures you create. Not only does this include the spirits that a Ritualist can create, but it can also incorporate into minion mastering. So if you had a Ritualist Necro and you put points in the spawning power, your minions will actually have more health than a normal minion would have if you were a Necro Primary. Now, the other side of this for spawning power is that for every point you put into spawning power, you actually lengthen your weapon spells by 4%. Now, that is important because, like I said before, weapon spells don't normally last quite as long as enchantments do. So, putting points in the spawning power will lengthen the duration for those weapon spells, making them a little bit more effective. Also, inside the attribute, you have a lot of skills buried inside of it. It has a lot of attacks, a little bit of healing, a lot of spirits, and most of your energy management is found in this attribute. And I do want to mention there's one big skill. It's actually one of my top 5 skills in the game. It's Strength of Spirit. Now, what this skill does exactly is that it makes your attacks hit an extra plus like 20 to 25 damage harder while you have a weapon spell on you. And this is really great for using a bow, a spear, axes, swords, and even daggers. Ritual Assassin is very popular for increasing the damage on top of high damaging dagger skills. So that makes the Ritualist very, very dangerous in melee combat. Something you wouldn't think about in a caster Ritualist role. Now, secondary professions for the Ritualist, like I said, jack of all trades, master of some. They can be almost any secondary profession and be very, very effective. You can be a monk secondary, mesmer secondary to incorporate the hex removal, like I mentioned before, to be a healer. You can add Ellie secondary with glyphless energy to lower the cost of some of the spell casting skills. You could be a spirit spammer that can lay a lot of spirits on the field, or Necro secondary to cast to be a minion master with higher HP minions. You can use the spirit strength to be a long range bow attacker, melee attacker, and paragon for mid range spear use. So, like I mentioned before, jack of all trades, master of some. Master part, of course, is the spirits part, but they can basically do almost any function in the game, which makes them a pretty nice character to play if you want to play in PvE. You don't want to be locked down to a single role, which most people look at them as a healer, but that is actually not the case. So I hope you try the Ritualist out sometime, and I hope you enjoy this video, and I will talk to you later. Thank you very much, and have a good day.